Welcome to part 3 of Geography, Chapter 5 Minerals and Energy Resources. Today we are going to study the conventional sources of energy, non conventional sources of energy, and conservation of energy resources. So, why delay? Let's begin. Energy resources. Energy is required for all the activities. It is needed to cook, to provide light and heat, to propel vehicles, to drive machineries in the industries. It can be generated from fuel minerals like coal, petroleum, natural gas, uranium, and from electricity. Depending on how it is generated, they can be classified into two categories, that is conventional energy sources and non-conventional energy resources. Now it's very easy one. Conventional are the traditional energy resources which have been used from ages. Non-conventional energy resources obviously are not being used. They are we have started using them recently. Now I'll give you examples for conventional energy resources. Then we will go for the differences: firewood, cattle dung cake, coal, petroleum, natural gas, and electricity, including both hydel and thermal. Whereas non-conventional energy resources include solar, wind, tidal, geothermal, biogas, and atomic energy. Now, these two, we are going to study all of them, and these are really important for 3 marks. Firewood and cattle dung cake, as per estimates, more than 70% of energy that is needed in the rural households is made by firewood, that is traditional energy resource. Normally, people who do not have alternative source for fuel go for the firewood, and cattle dung cake is very common in tropical areas. A decreasing forest area is making it difficult to use firewood because now the forest area has been ever decreasing, so in turn availability of the firewood has gone down. Dung cake can be put to better use in the form of manure, and hence it should also be discouraged. Using the cattle dung to prepare the cake would be not so good because it can be used to prepare manure. So it should be discouraged. But if you go to the rural households, even today they use the cattle dung cake. Now, what are the differences between the conventional and the non-conventional energy resources? Now, the conventional sources of energy are not renewable. The firewood is not renewable. Once you use it, it will not come back. Non-conventional, however, are renewable. They cause different types of pollution. Name it: air pollution, soil pollution. But non-conventional sources of energy do not cause, or they cause very less pollution. Conventional sources of energy are they cheaper, so they are in initial setup they cost very low, whereas non-conventional moderate in initial setup cost, very expensive per unit, very cheap per unit. Limited are the conventional sources of energy and unlimited are the non-conventional sources of energy. If you have the mode to extract the source from the conventional, the non-conventional, then it would be really good. Even though we do have unlimited reserves, we lack the extracting methods. So we will study some of the conventional and some of the non-conventional. We'll begin with coal, one of the conventional sources of energy. In India, coal is the most abundantly available fossil fuel. It provides a substantial part of nation's energy needs. Now we have turned to diesel and petrol, but it used to be coal, which was used to run the train as well. It is used for power generation to supply energy to industry as well. For domestic needs, India is highly dependent on coal for meeting its commercial energy requirements. Recently, Nirmala Sitharaman, our finance minister, made announcement regarding the coal acquisition of coal. So If you know anything about that one, you please comment in the comment box regarding what was the policy that was made to accommodate the private sector to the public sector, that is regarding coal. Now, coal is formed due to the compression of plant material over millions of years. You might have studied about the compression of how the coal is formed. Coal is found in a variety of forms depending on the degree of compression. We'll go for that. Now, the first one, the coal is found depending on the degree of compression and the depth and the time of burial. Decaying plants in swamps produce peat, which has a low carbon and high moisture contents and a low heating capacity. Lignite is a low grade brown coal which is soft with high moisture content. Coal that has been buried uh, deep and subjected to increased temperature is called bituminous coal. It is the most popular coal in commercial use. Now, anthracite is the highest quality hard coal, and peat, as I told you, is the lowest quality coal. You can see the coal mines here, right? Metallurgical coal is also a high grade bituminous coal which has a special value for smelting iron in blast furnace. So, in India, coal occurs in rock series of two main geological ages, namely Gondwana, a little over 200 million years in age, and in tertiary deposits, which are only about 55 million years old. So, the major reserves of Gondwana coal, which are metallurgical coal, are located in the Damodar Valley, that is West Bengal and Jharkhand, Jharia and right, we have come down to that one. Jharia, Raniganj, Bokaro are the important coal fields. Coal is also obtained in the Godavari, Mahanadi, Son, and Wardha valleys. Tertiary coal are found in the northeastern states of Meghalaya, Assam, Arunachal Pradesh, and Nagaland. Remember, that's why the coal mining is done. In turn, it's known as the rat hole mining. Right, remember these names because these names are very important to locate. Now you can see the differences of coal. Remember, coal is a bulky material which loses weight on use as it is reduced to ash. Hence, heavy industries and thermal power stations are located on or near the coal fields because of the haulage, the content, the carriage to the factories. Now let's go to the next one, that is natural gas. Now, natural gas is an important clean energy resource found in association with or without petroleum, sometimes with or sometimes without petroleum. It is used as a source of energy as well as industrial raw material for the petrochemical industry. It is used as a raw material for the petrochemical industry. That's what it is very, very important. Natural gas is considered as an environment friendly fuel because of the low carbon dioxide emissions. Right. Large reserves of natural gas have been discovered in the KG basin, or else called as the Krishna Godavari basin. Along the west coast, the reserves of the Mumbai High and allied fields are supplemented by the finds in the Gulf of Cambay. They are found in the Gulf of Cambay and transported to the nearby factories using the pipeline. Now, the largest pipeline that you see in India, longest pipeline that you see in India is the 1700 kilometer long Hazira Vijaypur Jagdishpur cross country gas pipeline, which links Mumbai High and Basin with the fertilizer, power, and industrial complexes in the west and northern India. That is the longest one. Yes, this one. Transported from the source to the factory via the pipeline. Now you can see how the conventional natural gas, the shale gas, can be used, right? It's a natural gas plant here. You can pause the video and read about it more. Let's move to the next one, that is petroleum. Who doesn't know about petroleum? Because petroleum is like gold. Petroleum or mineral oil is the next major energy source in India. after coal. It provides fuel for heat and lightning, lubricants for machinery, and raw materials for a number of manufacturing industries. Petroleum refineries act as a nodal industry. What is a nodal industry? Which provides raw materials for other industries. Like petroleum provides for synthetic textile, it provides for fertilizer, numerous chemical industries. We do have industry nearby, the MRPL. Now, most of the petroleum occurrences in India are associated with the anticline fault trap in the rock formation of the tertiary age. I think you need to study about a syncline or an anticline, how the petroleum is trapped in the anticline. So, do comment on what is an anticline. Now, about 63% of India's petroleum production is from Mumbai, high 18% from Gujarat. We have Ankaleshwar, Kalol. 16% is from Assam. We have Digboy, Naharkatia. So rest, obviously, rest are being imported from the Gulf countries. Right? The places like Ankaleshwar is the most important field of Gujarat. We have Assam is the oldest oil producing state of India. Digboy, Naharkatia, and Moran Hogrijan are the important oil fields in Assam. Right, we have got it here. There are some private players also, like the Reliance. They also try to play some cards in the petroleum industry. Largely it is owned by the government, it's the public sector. Now we will move on to the next one, that is electricity. Electricity has such a wide range of applications in today's world. Now without electricity, there wouldn't be anything hardly now, because a lot of times students complain that they cannot attend the classes because there is no electricity. Electricity, the per capita consumption of electricity is considered as an index of development. If it is more than the country is running towards development. Electricity is generated mainly through two ways. One is running water, which drives hydro turbines to generate the hydroelectricity. That's what we call hydroelectricity. The another one is burning other fuels such as coal, petroleum, and natural gas to drive the turbines. That is called the thermal power. So once the generated electricity is exactly the same, the hydroelectricity is generated by fast flowing water, which is a renewable resource. India has a number of multi-purpose projects like the Bhakra Nangal or Damodar Valley Corporation, which produces hydroelectric power. Thermal electricity is generated by using coal, petroleum, and natural gas. The thermal power stations use non-renewable fossil fuels, that is coal, for generating electricity. There are over 310 thermal power plants in India. We are going to locate few of them in the map later. I'll go on to that later. Next one is the nuclear energy. Now, nuclear energy is in talks for many years, from the Pokhran testing to now, because possessing a nuclear power is not so easy. If you possess the nuclear power, you are considered to be one of the developed countries. That's why possessing it makes a big deal. It's obtained by altering the structure of atoms. When such an alteration is made, much energy is released. There are two reactions, the fission and the fusion, in the form of heat, and this is used to generate electric power. Again, I'm posting a question: which reaction is much more useful? Is it the nuclear fission or the nuclear fusion? Uranium and thorium, which are available in Jharkhand and the Aravalli ranges of Rajasthan, are used for generating atomic and nuclear power. The monazite sands of Kerala is also rich in thorium, which are found in thorium also. Let's come to the solar energy. India is a tropical country. It has enormous possibilities of tapping the solar energy. What happens here is the photovoltaic technology converts sunlight directly into electricity. You can see here, I have put it in the picture, the photo cells which convert the solar energy to electricity, which is much more friendly environmental friendly, as we can say, that poses a question: why is solar energy used, much more used? Because it is environmental friendly, doesn't cause pollution, it is abundantly available, and during the times of setup it is costly, but in the long run it becomes cheaper, right? The largest solar plant of India is located at Madhapur near Bhuj, where solar energy is used to sterilize milk cans. Now, this is not the updated information. This is probably not updated again. If you know where is the largest solar park located in India, please do comment. There are so many questions today. Let's see who gets all the comments right. I will see the comments, then we will host the WebEx webinar. Now, remember, that's a question here. Why the solar energy is preferred? I told you the first one, it's abundantly available because India is a tropical country. The second one, it's environmental friendly as it doesn't cause pollution. Third one, in the initial setup, it is costly, but in the long run, it becomes cheaper. Wind power. Now, these are non-conventional. Not everybody uses wind to generate electricity. That's why they are called non-conventional. India has great potential of wind power. The largest wind farm cluster is located in Tamil Nadu from Nagarcoil to Madurai. You can see here in the picture like this. Now, India ranks now as a wind superpower. There are private players as well. I think I have heard about the Suzlon Energy Corporation. And in if you go to Karnataka, you will see near Mandya, Mysore, a lot of large cluster of wind mills are established or planted on the mountains. Now, it is very much common in Tamil Nadu. As I told, it's from the Nagarcoil to Madurai. Apart from this, you can find this in Andhra Pradesh, Karnataka, Gujarat, Kerala, Maharashtra, and Lakshadweep, where wind is a luxury. Not luxury, wind is in availability. Okay, Nagarcoil and Jaisalmer are well known for effective use of wind energy in the count. If you have been to the windmill or have personally seen a windmill, you will understand how large it is. Next comes the biogas. The biogas, shrubs, farm waste, animal and the human waste are used to produce biogas for domestic consumption in the rural area. It happens that the decomposition of the organic matter yields gas which has higher thermal efficiency in comparison to what we use, the kerosene. A normal biogas plant looks like this, where we have to process using this. We can process using the animal or the plant remain, which produces quite environmental friendly gas. Now, it used to be very popular earlier days. Now, everybody opts for higher thermal efficiency that is produced by the liquefied petroleum gas, or else known as the LPG gas. This gas is also called as the gobar gas. Now, biogas plants are set up at municipal, cooperative, and individual levels. Cattle dung commonly is used as the raw material here. That's why it's called as the gobar gas plant. These provide twin benefits to the farmer in the form of energy and improved quality of manure. So, biogas is by far the most effective or efficient use of cattle dung, not the cow dung cake. It improves the quality of manure and also prevents the loss of trees and manure due to burning of fuel wood and cow dung cakes. I have heard about the use of cashew fruit here in southern part, where they use that as a remain to fuel up biogas. Next comes the tidal energy. I have put down the pictures. How does it work? You can see here. Probably that is much more useful. I cannot take you to those places. Tidal energy uses the oceanic tides can be used, right, to generate electricity. What happens here is the floodgate dams are built across the inlets. During high tide, water flows into the inlet and gets trapped where the gate is closed. After the tide falls outside the floodgate, the water retained by the floodgate flows back to the sea via a pipe that carries it through a power generating turbine like this. That's the picture you're seeing here. This is an example of how it can be done. In India, it is done in Gulf of Khambat, Gulf of Kutch in Gujarat on the western coast, sorry for that, western coast, and Gangetic Delta in Sundarban regions of West Bengal are also ideal to generate or to utilize the tidal energy. You can see here it's a 900 megawatt tidal energy nuclear plant, tidal energy power plant is set up here by the National Hydro Power Corporation, right? Now let's go to the next one, that is geothermal energy. Geothermal energy is also very unique, which is not tapped well. Geothermal energy refers to the heat and electricity produced by using the heat from the interior of the earth. Now, geothermal energy exists because the earth grows progressively hotter with the increasing depth. As you go inside, it tends to be hotter, where the geothermal gradient is high. High temperature are found at shallow depths. If you go inside the earth, you will see